Welcome to the Straight Up, No Bullshit, the Don Handston Show. Our hosts are going to push the limits, but create an environment where it's safe to uncover the crap that holds you back so you can survive the mediocrity of today's life. And they'll be admitting and revealing their own experiences so you can learn the skills and attitude you need to be who you are. No bullshit. Warning to all listeners: if you have thin skin and get offended easily by harsh, direct, or somewhat offensive content and language, then this podcast may be overwhelming. However, we believe pulling your blinders off and viewing things from a real perspective may feel invigorating and may be the very thing that may cause you to expand your capabilities exponentially. Now here's your hosts, Don and Markus.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Straight Up No Bullshit, where we cut through the noise and get straight at the heart of the matter. Don, how's it going, my friend?
Everything's going wonderful.
Excellent. It's a beautiful day out, and the sun is shining, and as we say here, every day above ground is a great day. But today we have a very special guest joining us, someone who knows a thing or two about living life on his own terms and creating betterment in these crazy times. I'm going to welcome Sal Paletta to the show. Welcome, Sal.
Thank you. Welcome, guys. Thank you very much for having me.
Absolutely. And Sal, for those of you who don't know him yet, he's got quite an impressive background. After attending NIU, he went to broadcasting school and even worked alongside the legendary John Records Landecker, bringing those lively morning oldies on 104.3 FM right here in the heart of Chicago. And that's not all. Sal also ran his own online show, iRadio Chicago Comedy, which was a hit and garnered top ratings on Live 365 back in the early 90s. Talk about serious talent. But you know, as they say, life takes its unexpected turn. Sal decided to switch gears and become a police officer. Yep, you heard it right. From radio waves to serving and protecting his community to wearing a badge, Sal has really seen it all. And today we're going to tap into that wealth of experience and knowledge and discuss kind of the current state of affairs, what's going on in America, and particularly the ongoing war on the police. So stay tuned, folks. You're in for a great ride. So as we dive into it, Sal, welcome to Straight Up No Bullshit, my friend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely. So let's dive right into it. Sal, you obviously started in broadcasting. That's what you went to school for. And you actually had, it sounds like a very fantastic career. And then you shifted gears. Tell us how you got started in broadcasting and what made you make that pivot to becoming a police officer.
Well, majoring in criminology, I always wanted to be a police officer, but then after Northern, I decided I wanted to get into radio, so I went to the Connecticut School of Broadcasting and graduated from there, and was looking for an internship to start, and that's when that year I went to the auto show, and Dick Biondi from Oldies 104.3 was doing a remote, and nice. I really wanted, it was always my favorite station, so I wanted to be an intern there. And I said, you know what, I'm going to go up and ask him. What's the worst he could tell me? Get away? And
exactly.
He was wonderful, great. He gave me a number to call. I called it. I got an interview with Landecker, and they hired me there. And I did mornings for probably about a year until I got hired on the police force. So it was a great experience for me. I loved it. I also helped out doing overnights and working in production and stuff. And it was great. But Dick Biondi started it off for me just because I took a chance and went up and asked. So.
Yeah, and you got a great radio voice. Like I hate the sound of my voice, but you sound like you belong on the mic.
Thank you.
That's just my opinion. But what's funny about your story is so many people are afraid to step forward and make a move, right?
Yes.
This guy Dick Biondi, obviously I remember he was very, very popular, right?
Yes.
For you to step forward and say, hey, you know, is there anything I can do for you? Or is there anybody that you know that I can talk to? I mean, a lot of people won't make that step forward, and that's what keeps a lot of people from moving ahead in life.
Yes, I agree. He was great, and I just decided, you know, what's the worst that he could say? And I really wanted to have that as my internship because a lot of guys in my class were getting different stations, like the jazz station, and even had a girl work for Man Cow, and I was like, no, oldies are my life. That's what I love.
Yeah.
So I had to take advantage of it, and I got lucky. But you're right, Don. You got to take a chance once in a while. You know, stop with the status quo. Take a chance.
And the big thing that I talk about all the time is it's very easy when you let your thoughts out, things that you aspire to do. Other people will invalidate those because they're not capable of it. And the biggest thing that you need to do in life, and these are all my words, my opinions, is you need to self-validate and not allow the outside world to invalidate your thoughts, and keep on your path if you wanna get what you want in life.
I agree. You're right.
Yeah.
That's it exactly.
Absolutely. So obviously you wanted to be a police officer. So that kind of things opened up for you, or what took you from broadcasting and having your own online radio show to joining the force?
Well, my first dream was being a police officer because my father was a police officer. And I was doing a lot of testing while I was still working down at the radio station. You know, how I handled all those hours. I guess you just do it when you're younger.
Exactly.
And I applied and was hired by Melrose Park, and I had to quit broadcasting because I had to leave for the academy, which was 15 weeks in Chicago. So I went where I really wanted both jobs, but I went with a job that I thought was a good job at the time.
Right.
You know, great pension, insurance. So I went with that because being in broadcasting was hard. It was like trying to break into show business.
Sure.
You know, so I went with the sure bet, which was my first love. So I went with that, but no regrets. I love it. You know, I was actually hired out here before I did the lateral transfer to a station local out here, WSPY.
Okay.
And I got the job as the morning show. The problem was when I got the contract, the money was terrible out here. So,
Gotcha.
And there was a lot of, if I quit, I couldn't work for 3 years. And so I never signed it. Actually, I still have the contract. I never signed it. And I just went ahead with the lateral transfer. I thought that'd be best. So that's where that has taken me.
That's awesome. That's awesome. And obviously you've seen a lot of being in Melrose Park. I mean, I wouldn't say that's it's not the roughest neighborhood, but it's not the most friendliest neighborhood either. So I'm sure you've seen your share of action. So what are some of the things that you have seen recently? I know we had a little conversation before we got on here about, you know, the war on the police and what's kind of going on, and you have a unique take on that.
Well, my take is, like we were discussing earlier, is I know a lot of people have a lot of hatred for the police, and I'm very much pro-police, obviously. But what I was saying earlier is there's an aspect of it where I blame the police as well.
Interesting.
Case in point, the George Floyd incident. That officer, what he did was wrong. You know,
Yeah.
that George Floyd, yeah, I know he was a career criminal, and I understand that. And if he had shot a cop on the scene that day, once he has the handcuffs on, it's over. It's done. That's
Right.
it. For him to kneel on his neck like that was way out of line. And I also blame the other patrolmen that were there with him. They have enough knowledge. We're taught in the academy. You watch out for the other guy. You know, nobody stepped in. Nobody grabbed that copper to save him and say, hey, what are you doing? No one did it. So I do put some of the blame on the policemen. And it's unfortunate, but there's a lot of policemen out there that just feel because they have a gun and a badge that they could do whatever they want. And that's not the case. So I think a lot of the coppers are making it really hard on themselves these days.
Well, I think you hit on a real good point. You know, when people participate in some aspect of the blame, I don't care if somebody completely did something against you. You have at least 1% of fault in there, because otherwise it would have never happened to you. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
And so it could be like me walking through a neighborhood that I'm not welcome, right? And I get hurt, or I get whatever, something happens to me. Okay. And it's them. Well, I have to participate in fault. I have to say, what are you thinking walking through this neighborhood? What do you think is going to happen? And if I don't accept any fault, I can never make a better decision moving forward. And so I think you're accurate when you say, you know, even though, you know, I don't know what the percentage of the fault on the police and different stories that go on, they have to accept some level of fault.
Yes.
And I think we all do in everything, in our everyday life, right?
Yes.
Yep.
I mean, I agree. And, you know, we are taught to have to deal with those pressures and the aggravation. We're not supposed to break. They did something in the police academy where we would do mock scenes, and they caused what they quoted as artificial stress while we were on the call, which entailed going on a mock domestic case and having one of the instructors who was out of bounds. Like he wasn't supposed to be, you were supposed to ignore him. And he would just scream in your ear and say some of the worst things to you. and you had to just ignore him, and it was creating artificial stress. So policemen are taught that. But what I was saying earlier is it's getting worse now. The recruitment numbers are so low, and police departments are so desperate to fill spots because they don't have the manpower. They are now lowering the standards and hiring less qualified people. So this is going to continue. We're going to have less qualified policemen out there that are going to do the wrong thing. Whereas years ago, they probably wouldn't have got past the psych or the polygraph or the physical. But departments are so shorthanded, we're forced to hire less qualified people. So I don't see this getting any better anytime soon, unfortunately.
So what's interesting about what you said, Sal, is about how the police are less qualified and they're not, necessarily capable of making the decisions that need to be made. And I'm gonna pipe in on that because the couple of times that I had encounters with the police, okay, and I'm a law-abiding citizen, it really put a bad taste in my mouth, okay?
Mm-hmm.
And they were not making executive decisions. They were not using experience and knowledge and wisdom to flatten out what the problem was. What they were doing is they were using political ideas to make their decision making, right? And so nobody could make a decision, and everyone's calling for this guy, and then they're calling for that guy, and then the supervisor's got to come. Like, do you need a supervisor to wipe your ass? And I'll be honest with you, I'm from a police family, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nothing but respect for police. And in the last, I want to say 10 years, okay, I have lost a lot of respect for a lot of the policemen that are out there because instead of making an executive decision like years ago, you went in and there's a domestic, right?
Mm-hmm.
And either one could probably get arrested. My old man would be like, all right, you got a clean pair of underwear, you got your cigarettes, you got what you need, get the hell out of this house. If you're reported back in here, I'm going to arrest both of you guys.
Someone's got to go for the night, right?
Right.
Yes.
And so that's how it used to go. But now it's like, well, if you don't arrest them, and then this happens, and then we're liable, and everybody's afraid to get sued and making the wrong decisions, that the police are no longer allowed to make a decision. So it's not just that they're not as capable, but they're afraid to make
They're
the
second
executive
guessing,
decision.
and that's the problem, Don. A lot of policemen are getting killed because they're second guessing, whereas we're trained to know to use the equal amount of force back. It's some of the coppers now. I truly feel like they're waiting to get shot at first before they, and that's a terrible situation. But they're second guessing themselves, which that puts all the training we do to crap.
Right.
And the people in the towns like Chicago, which is just terrible in my opinion.
Yeah.
They don't realize that it's costing the taxpayers more money because of the low numbers. The police departments are requiring the officers to work overtime. So they're spending more money to cover the shifts, and the people don't realize it. Instead of just hiring good policemen, now we're forced to pay overtime, which costs the taxpayers a lot more money. They don't get it. They just don't understand it.
Or they're hiring people that are less qualified just to fill the numbers.
Every day, Mark, every day that's happening, and I see it. And every time I turn on the news and I see another police officer who shot someone, there was just a case in Chicago where the coppers went in because a single mom called 911 because I believe someone was breaking into her apartment or her house. And what ended up happening is she got shot and killed.
Wow.
Now, I get this stuff could happen, but
accidents do
it's
happen,
just another situation where I put my head down and go, oh, geez, and it makes life very hard for the good policemen. That's what the problem is. But I understand that it's tough and that they second guess themselves. I can't even imagine what it would be like being a policeman now.
Right.
Well,
that's why. Was that one of the reasons why you retired? Was it just
no? Actually, I just always said when I turned 50, I knew I would have. I could have retired with 20 years on when I had to turn 50, but I had 25 on, and I had it made. I was a sergeant of detectives. I made my own hours, no weekends. I had a take-home squad car, unmarked. My chief treated me like a deputy chief. I loved him, and I still left because I was tired of the politics, and I was tired of the death. I couldn't take it anymore. I had enough. I was done. And this was before this war on the police even started. So I was lucky to get out.
Mm-hmm.
You were lucky. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And go ahead, Don.
So do you believe that, I don't want to get off into politics, but do you believe that this whole thing was designed against the police because ultimately the politicians really wanted for the police to no longer have authority, basically, so the police would go away and they could basically rule the land with like martial law or with the military, like actually get rid of the police? Do you think that was a part of the agenda?
You know, I don't. If I'm not mistaken, did you not bring up this point on an earlier show? Something similar to that? I thought I heard you talk about that.
Yeah.
I'm not so sure that I believe that. I think this war on the police started with Obama and Eric Holder.
Okay.
When he was in office, he started this war on the police, not trusting. Remember, they had that meeting where they had beers at the White House, and he came out and said, you know, I was a young black man like this guy, and it just started the hatred, and it just festered and kept going. So, but this whole defund the police thing, you know, I think started from the left, and of course, the criminals are going to love it. You know, you guys talked earlier about, you know, the guns. We need gun control. We need gun control. That's the Democrats' answer every time someone gets shot. And Markus, you said it in the one show I was listening to. You know, the bad guys, they're going to have the guns. They have them. You're only stopping the good citizens from buying guns. You know,
well,
that's the bad part. Me and my father have to go every year, every summer. We have to go qualify to conceal carry as a retired law enforcement, where a regular person, I think, has to go every 3 years.
Right. Yeah.
So we're held to higher standards. So
yeah.
So you know the Amendment 2, right? The right to bear arms. Okay. The reason why I was talking about this earlier with someone today, the reason why that was put into place is because if the government ever got too powerful, okay, and we needed a reset, the civilians needed to be able to. And that was the whole concept behind Amendment 2, the right to bear arms. In case the government gets too out of control and too strong and too large and too powerful and controls the people. And I kind of feel like we're pretty much there. I mean, we're very, 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 very close to that point. And so... And all we hear about is, gun control, like you said. Yep. So take guns out of people that obey the law, that register, that go in for their concealed carry permits, that know how to shoot. They don't shoot sideways and kill all the wrong people. Actually are not going to pull it out unless they're in danger. I mean, they want the guns out of those people's hands. So what does it tell you? It tells you that they know that our government is getting too powerful, and they cannot have the people powerful to where they could actually take the government down.
Right.
Do you find any truth in that?
I do, because I think a lot of people don't trust the government anymore. And I'm one of them people. Yeah. I don't trust the government. They're supposed to have our back. They're supposed to take care of us, not in the sense of entitlements, but, you know, look out for us. And they have let us down. And
they've almost put a target on our backs. So like,
definitely.
It's like, you know, if we speak out, you know, it's like, you know, they're coming after us, whether it's the lawfare like they're doing to Trump and, you know, the FBI and weaponizing all these different departments to the point of, again, trying to take away our guns, our rights, you know.
Right.
The founders, people don't realize the founders of this country were so wise in what they did. Yes, the Constitution's there, you know, and checks and balances are there, and be able to, you know, again, create a militia if necessary, fight off a tyrannical government. But they're brilliant in that. And all they're trying to do since 9/11 is water it down, you know, and if you call yourself a patriot, you know, you're now a racist because you're a patriot. It's insane. So it's really about truth versus lies, what's right versus wrong, what is, you know, let's call it what's good versus evil. It's getting to that point. Wouldn't you agree?
Yes, they throw that term around, racist, constantly. I mean, if you come out there and say you don't trust Biden, you don't trust the Democrats, even Kamala now, especially. If you don't like her, you're a racist. You know, I'm not even sure if she knows what race she is at this point. I know there's a lot in the
Exactly.
news today, but you're deemed a racist if you don't like her politics. I'm sure a lot of people listening to this will say, well, he blamed Obama and Eric Holder for the war on the police, the starting of it. I'm sure people will say, well, he's racist. No, this has nothing to do with race. When
Right.
Obama was
Policies.
elected president, I will tell you, I wanted nothing more than to him, being the first black president, to really knock it out of the park. I wanted him to succeed. He just didn't. I mean, he's not as bad as Biden was, but I wanted him to succeed. I don't care what color he was.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. The racist term, they throw that out there as a coverall, blanket for everything, just to shut you up.
Well, yeah, because we back down, and if we back down, you know, they scream louder. So that's where having podcasts like this and people sharing their voice, saying, you know what, no more. We're not allowing you to silence us anymore. It's done.
Well, yeah. I mean, even with the Black Lives Matter thing, all they did was reinstate racism. They wanted racism to come back because it really wasn't an issue. Okay,
Right.
It wasn't an issue.
Yeah.
And so when people are going to say, oh, Don's full of shit. That's fine. But Black Lives Matter was designed for one reason. It was to create racism and
Chaos,
and for us to separate as people. And instead of being people, they're black, we're white, they're the Hispanic, it's a guy, it's a girl, we don't know what it is, all over the board. No, like you said, and anything you do against anyone that's not exactly like you is racism.
Yep.
And that's all a bunch of bullshit. So if somebody calls me a racist, you know what I say? Last time I checked, it's not illegal to be a racist. So go fuck yourself. And I'm not a
That's one
racist.
way.
But if somebody's going to call me that, if that's what you think I am, cool. Okay.
Right.
I'm not going to discuss this, what you think, and nor do I care what you think. But, it's really interesting that all of this stuff has really been done to divide us as a country instead of staying united.
Yeah.
And coming together, because one more political point I want to make, the only two reasons why we have politicians to serve us is economically, right, to keep our economy strong and keep us safe, right, which they sift all the money out of our system and go straight to the top, and then they wide open the borders and just let everybody come in, terrorists and everybody else, and nobody does anything about it. And then they're like, I know what you're talking about. It's not an open border. Yeah, we got an extra 22 million for no reason, you idiots.
No, Don, they just lie now. They just lie and say, we have the most securest border we've ever had, which is, it's a blatant lie. And that's what they're doing now. And have you noticed that when they talk with the Democrats, when they go against Trump, they, when we say something against Biden, we're talking about his policies. When they say something against Trump, it has nothing to do with his policies. It's a personal attack. Oh, he's a womanizer. Oh, he's this, he's that. Nobody ever makes any comments about his policies, but we are so unsafe right now. It's horrible with what's going on. Israel today, they said, is now waiting for the retaliation from Iran. It's coming. Now, if we gave any arms to Israel, those sleeper cells are here already. They just walk right in. We're very unsafe. Unfortunately, that's the way it is right now. I hope it changes. I really do.
Well, we have to get out there and make that happen. I mean, I even though they're saying the polling is changing and so forth, I don't think Kamala's got the pull to pull it off. And I think there's so many patriots out there that are fighting for freedom, and they realize that, you know what, if we don't set this right now, our country's lost. We're done. We might as well stick a fork in it, and it's done. So
it's not even a country.
Yeah,
it's the world, because we're the leader. We're the leader. Whatever happens here is going to reverberate around this whole world. Okay,
it already is. Right.
Exactly. Right. But I think we're the ones stirring the pot. These knuckleheads that are running it, they're supplying different people with money and weapons, and they're stirring the pot. Okay, if anybody knows anything about third party law, what happens is the reason why two people cannot solve a conflict is because the conflict isn't between the two people. It's the third person, the third party that's stirring the pot. So these two are fighting against each other. They can never resolve the conflict because
Right.
they're not the ones that are creating conflict amongst each other. So it's really interesting because I really believe that our country is stirring the pot for a lot of these other countries, and everything is
Yeah.
like ready to explode.
It's the deep state. It's the
Yes.
administrative
Yes.
state. They're the ones, the puppeteers that are pulling the strings everywhere, and that's what's keeping us all divided. It's not about black versus white anymore. Man versus woman. I mean, they're creating all sorts of chaos because they can, and because they know that with all this chaos and everyone's divided and everyone's fighting amongst themselves, they can go about doing their own little thing and keep pushing their agendas, keep passing their laws that nobody else sees, and really causing havoc because they want control. It's always power, money, and control.
And they're
what it comes down to.
manufacturing this stuff. I mean, look at the squad.
Yeah.
You got AOC, you got Tlaib. I mean, they are pro Hamas. And
Right.
you got what's going on these college campuses, which is it's insane. I can't believe it. I mean, they're going after the Jewish students for what? What did these people do? I know it's over
Right.
religion. I know it's over land and all that. But we're here in the U.S.
Right.
But we have our Congress they're giving them, legitimacy. They're letting them do it.
Right.
And it's just, and I don't understand it. I don't get it. But I think it's a critical point because we have a real hard time trying to get through these horrible 4 years of Biden. And I can't imagine 8 years of Kamala because that's what's on the line.
Okay.
8 years
Yeah.
if she wins.
Well, that's why we have to fight. We have to we have to be truth sharers and share the truth with as many people as can, and we got to get them out there to vote. Because I mean, and speaking of voting, I know you're actually. I mean, you talk like a patriot, you sound like a patriot, yet you're a registered independent.
I am, yes. I've been a registered independent since, before I became a policeman, only because I wanted to kind of be in the middle to gather information on both sides and make a good decision when it came to going to the polls, to vote. But I'm conservative. I've always leaned more conservative, but I am still a registered independent. Keeps me out of primaries, which is fine. But no, the Democrats are terrible. I've never been a Democrat. I just wanted to be independent.
Right.
But they're terrible, And I have good friends, like I was saying earlier. A friend, I'll refer to him as Marty, and he does not like Trump. He hates Biden, but he doesn't like Trump. And that's what I was saying earlier. There's people that just don't want to vote for Trump just because they hate him. They don't like him. They're not thinking about the country. I'm not saying my friend Marty's wrong, but unfortunately, there's a lot of people out there that they fester a lot of hatred for this man. And that's what worries me.
I think part of it was self-inflicted. I mean, let's face it. When you're spouting out on Twitter the way he did the first go around, you're going to piss people off.
Oh, he did.
And that was probably my biggest gripe with him. Is like he's got amazing policies. I mean, inflation was down. Borders were secure. People were making money. We weren't in any wars. It was wonderful. But yet, because of his mouth, you turn people into what I called Trump derangement syndrome people. They're just out of their minds. But if you notice the rallies and the things that he's been at over the last, let's call it the last year, it's a different Trump. He's not not that fired up the way he used to be. And I think he's learned that there is a place for diplomacy, and he can't get the job done. And we just got to get people to see that.
So, I mean, the man obviously, all right, he has a really heavy duty ego. That's obvious to everyone. Okay.
Yes.
Number two, when your ego is that big, sometimes your mouth moves before the hamster gets on the treadmill. I'm not saying the guy's not amazing or he's smart, intelligent man. What I'm saying is he feels as though he can say whatever he can, and he can. And I'm a firm like this thing, straight up, no bullshit. I like that. But my dad told me this when he was a policeman. He said, you know what? He goes, what gets you in trouble is what you say. And people will pay more attention to what you say than what you do. And that's what's going on right now, because you got these knuckleheads that are running this place right now into the ground, and they tell you this and they tell you that and they tell you this. And I'm the opposite. I don't care what because everybody's talking shit these days. The lips are moving. What are you doing? Okay. I want to see what you're doing. Yeah. And if there's results that are favorable, that's who I want. Right. Yeah. I don't give a shit because 90% of this country is talking shit anyway. So who cares what they're saying? What are you doing? What are you doing? And I think a lot of the people that you're talking about, Sal, they're so they're so consumed with some of the nonsense that comes out of his mouth because he's very
Right.
egotistical that they hate the man. Which,
Yes.
like you said, it's got nothing to do with policies. It's because they don't like his tan or his hair color or his wife, which I think is great. Hey, man, I like all the stuff this guy does. I even like how he makes fun of people. Because I'm a ball buster. I'm a hockey player. We bust
That's how I am
everyone's
too.
balls.
Absolutely.
That's called sharing the love, right?
Yes.
You know? So I think what we have to do is we have to quantify people based on their actions, not on their verbiage and what they're saying.
Yeah. Well, I can't argue with any of that. I agree with you on that.
Yeah.
It's a sad
Yeah,
state.
no, it is a sad state. So Sal, let me ask you a question. Obviously, with the current state of affairs in America, the way things are going, and the challenges we're facing, what are some of the bright horizons that you see? What are some of the things that you see that are giving people hope, that are giving us ability that, hey, maybe there is light at the end of the tunnel?
Well, I think the only hope, at least that I could see, is if Trump does get reelected. If we keep these Democrats out right now, I hope there's light at the end of the tunnel. Like I had said before, we can't take 8 years of this economy, this porous border. We can't. So I don't know if I see a lot of light at the end of the tunnel. I guess, ask me this in November 6th, November 7th, ask me. Because the only light I could see, guys, is if we get rid of these Democrats who are keeping the Americans down, keeping us very unsafe, killing our economy, spending our tax dollars, giving them to, look what we gave Iran. We bolstered their things by giving them, $5 billion? Look how much money we're spending on each migrant. Or I like to say illegal alien, God forbid.
Which they are.
But the money we're spending, and then look how much money Social Security is for our senior citizens. Or like a lot of people say, look at our veterans. They were kicking veterans out to put in illegal aliens. And you guys brought up on the one show about squatting. Yeah. We can't even have a discussion on squatting. It is just so crazy that you buy a house, you pay your taxes, you take your family, you go on vacation for 2 weeks, you come back, someone's there, and then you get arrested. What is going on here? So, to wrap it up, light at the end of the tunnel, Marcus, I don't see it right now. Hopefully in November, there'll be some light because everything will change. He'll deport all the illegal aliens, and we can maybe get this economy going again and drill, be energy independent because we're getting killed. Yeah. What we're doing. We are. So I guess I don't see any right now. Unfortunately, I just don't.
Well, yeah, I will share this hope to you that right now I think let's just call it conservatives because it's not a left or right thing. It's really people that are more conservative have been slapped in the face so many times that people are said enough is enough.
Yeah,
and people are pissed. They're speaking out. I mean, look at the different shows that are out there. The Tucker Carlsons, the Tulsi Gabbards, Vivek, the PDB guys. The Rubin Report. Everybody is speaking out, saying we have got to make this change. So I think we have more truth tellers, more patriots that are out there that are saying, you know what, no more. And I think that's the hope at the end of the tunnel is that we finally waking up. Because I'm sorry, the Republican Party has been asleep probably for the last 12, 15 years.
Oh yeah,
if not longer.
I agree.
And they're not the party. They don't speak up. They kind of go with the flow. Let's not ruffle feathers. But you know what? There's a time and a place. We were. People. Talk about World War II and Hitler. We were just as responsible for letting Hitler because we didn't do anything until we said enough was enough.
Right.
We said, you know what? We're drawing a sand line. No more. And then we ended it. We as collectively, as a world. So we have to get to a point where we say enough is enough. This woke bullshit, this insanity of everything that's going on. Enough is enough, and let's take our country back. Let's make America great again because it wasn't great. It's been a great country. The way it was set up is brilliant, and that's part of the problem. Is that we have the freedoms, we have a lot of those things that have allowed some of this stuff to fester. And now, unfortunately, too many of the people have gotten into power that are running the show, and that just needs to end. And the only way it's going to do that is if we vote for Trump come November. We have to do it.
So
That's what I think.
I have a couple of thoughts on the light at the end of the tunnel. I, my my belief system says that people, okay, and most people in this country never really experienced tough times, especially our our kids and the younger people. Okay, they never had to like went through a depression where they couldn't get food and
Right.
they didn't have like. So I think the first thing is people are being day by day a little bit more pushed down into a spot where they don't want to be. And once it starts creating a lot of hardships, people don't search for betterment until they really hit the bottom, till they're at a point where they have to fight or flight, right? I
Hmm.
mean, they don't have option. So I think that's the first part. And the second part is I think what's going on right now, we all have to remember that this is a two-way communication. Everything that you put out, you receive. Okay, you can call it karma, you can call it whatever you want. Okay,
Frequency.
and there's a
Yeah.
lot of people out here that are working under our nickel and dime, running this country, doing this, doing that. These different agencies that are corrupt, they're all putting out that communication. And guess what? That's all going to come back at them. Okay. Now the people that are out here and they're trying to do right by their neighbor, by their friends, by trying to help people. Okay,
Right.
that's also two-way communication. So I think that the people, I think we're at at a point right now where people that are putting out the right vibration, let's use Marcus's word vibration, putting out the right vibration are going to receive the good vibration back. I think the people that are putting out that poisonous vibration are going to receive that poison back. So I think that the light at the end of the tunnel is when this two-way communication goes in the opposite direction, if that makes any sense to you guys at all.
Sure.
And so I feel like right now we're at the point where our investments don't work. Nothing's really making money. The hardworking guy that spends less than he makes and invests it and loses it because they manipulated the stock market or whatever they did. This guy is ultimately going to get paid off in spades, and all these people that have been stealing and treating people poorly, it's all going to come to fruition for these people. So that's I don't know if you want to call it my positivity or my positive outlook, but I think that there is light at the end of the tunnel because I don't see it getting too much worse than it already is.
I thought that last year. I hope you're right.
Yeah.
So, Don, let me. Do you think we're at rock bottom, Marcus? Do you think we're at rock bottom right now?
No, I don't think so. I think we're
No?
close. I think some
We're
people are,
close.
but
We're
no,
close because
but I don't think so.
the credit card debt, I don't know numbers, so I'm just going to make up numbers, is in the trillions. Okay.
Yes.
The average guy is that lived well because they gave handouts during the coronavirus. They started all their bills are way up. They bought shit they couldn't afford, and it's all going on credit cards right now.
Yeah.
Okay, the people that are maxed out on credit cards, and guess what? Credit cards right now, our government allows them to basically kill these people with these 25 to 30% interest rates,
Mhm.
which Vinny Boom Bots, okay, would break your legs. And he was back in the day, he was only getting 20 points, right? 20%.
Yeah.
Our credit card companies can take 30% legally.
Yeah.
That's a fault of our government. That's not a fault of our credit card companies. So they're allowing a lot of these big companies to work unethically and destroy the country and destroy everybody. So when it comes to a point where people are going to go bankrupt and all these homes are going to go into foreclosure and cars are going to get repossessed and the groceries are so expensive people can't afford them, that's when shit's going to go awry. We have not hit that point, but we are so close. I can't even tell you how close we are to that. That's just my opinion.
Well, I hope that we have enough people that are awakening, different than woke. They're awakening to this, and that we stop this because we can. We can stop in November. We can stop this. There's no two ways around it. So
I don't understand why some of these people who are on the left, or as I would say, not so conservative, how they don't see just going to the supermarket every day. I mean, have you looked at the meat section at the store? There's so much meat there. It's just getting old because no one can afford it. It's just, It's going back. People can't afford the meat and stuff anymore. And I don't understand how these people that are against what Trump's values are for the economy are okay with it. I mean, there's no way that these people could sit there and say, oh, no, I don't spend that much in groceries anymore. Gas is fine for me. The only people that might think that are the people who are billionaires or millionaires because they don't really see the numbers. But the middle class, probably even some of the upper class, see that the price of stuff is just skyrocketed. And I don't understand how they're okay with it. You would think this would be a landslide, but
you think
I don't
so?
know.
Well, you know what? It's because the lies. You know, it's that whole adage. If you tell a lie long enough, people are going to believe it.
Yeah.
And the media lies, as we talked about. It's all lies.
Yeah.
It's lies and propaganda.
It's hypnotism.
And that's what it is. They're in a trance. I really think they're in a trance, and they're just sleepwalking through life, thinking, "Oh well, it's okay. You know, we'll get through November, and the leftists are going to save us." They're fucking communists. People don't understand it. And every time I get a post on Facebook, I don't post things directly, but when I see people posting stupid shit, I make a comment back because that's my way of pushing back, right?
Yeah.
So, you know, I will push back. And because they're always using the phrase, like, you know, right now they're calling JD Vance, you know, they're weird.
Weird.
You know, they're pushing this weird. It's this new word is weird, and now everywhere you see it, it's all about weird. Well, you know what? It's all about leftist, communist, fascist fuckers.
And
That's
have
what
you
it is.
noticed all the left media is saying the same word?
They
Weird.
They do it all the time. Yeah, they do it all the time.
They all go off each other.
When the whole Hitler thing, I think they planned it. I think whoever controls it, and we know there's only a small handful that are controlling the media. It's dictated from a high. This is the phrase you're going to use. This is the phrase you're going to use. This is the phrase you're going to use because we're going to brainwash people into believing this stuff. And it's like, wake up, people. You know, you are being driven. And I know this personally because my parents, my mother's family escaped from Russia or Estonia when the Russians were invading. They escaped communism, and they saw their family firsthand. Those that didn't leave, you know, standing in line for hours just to get a loaf of bread and a thing of milk, and having ration and not being able to go outside the border of your cities and being told and dictated to what you do. These leftist fuckers have no idea what's coming to them because I'm telling you, that's where we're headed. We are heading towards communism we've never seen before. And it's like, wake up, people, wake the fuck up. That's why we started this podcast. We're talking straight up, no bullshit. We're not sugarcoating it. This is how it is. Love us or hate us, but hopefully we've made you think. Hopefully we've planted a few seeds of thought that might get you to at least consider a different perspective.
The biggest thing that people need to do is figure out how to be aware. Yeah. Be aware. Pay attention to what's really going on. I truly believe that they've used the media and the television and the radio and every other form of media, right, to hypnotize. All you have to do is hypnotize. And if you have 5 or 10 different stations telling the same lie, okay, the people agree. And then they agree a little bit more. And then every time they turn on the TV, they agree a little bit more. Before you know it, that's why I don't think people are as stupid as they run around acting like they are. Because they're not. That's not them thinking. They've been hypnotized. They've used the media to completely put these people in a trance. And these people are for things that are destructive to them. And they don't even realize it. And then when they do realize it, it's going to be everybody else's fault, right? It's going to be everyone else's fault because there's no accountability. And in today's times, I mean, there's no accountability in school. There's no accountability in a job. There's no accountability anywhere. Like, you know, the kid doesn't read good enough. You know, we got to move him on. No child left behind. Whatever their theory is, a job. Or you can't fire him. He's got the wrong color. He doesn't speak the right language. He's not doing the job. He doesn't show up. I mean, there's no accountability. So when you're not accountable, when you have to be accountable for yourself, the problem is that you can do whatever the hell you want, and nobody can actually do anything against you until everything caves in on you, and then you're going to say, "Oh, poor me! Look what the world did to me."
And they keep doing it, Don. I mean, it just keeps happening. Unfortunately. Yeah. You know, it's like the kids protesting at the colleges. How about the sign that they had up not too long ago? Gays for Hamas. I mean, we both know. You go over there and tell them you're gay and see what happens to you. They don't know it. And they all, just like you said, are hypnotized. They listen to one thing. It was like when they came out, we were looking at videos of Biden just acting like he was just dead from the neck up.
Yeah.
What'd they say? It was a cheap fake. That's not even the term. It's a deep fake. But they all the media was repeating cheap fake. Cheap. It's not even the way to say that. That's not correct.
Right.
It's a deep fake. So you're right. They're hypnotized. They just listen to one outlet and then they all run with it like the weird. Oh, he's weird. If that's the worst you have on JD Vance is that he's weird, I'm okay with it. Let's look at some of the hires that Biden administration had. Look at some of them people.
I've got a good meme to send to everybody, all you guys. If anyone says that what weird, it shows all the crazy stuff that's going on is weird, and then you got like a family, there he's holding his kids. That's weird.
Yeah.
It's like it's you guys put it in contrast. You put it in visual terms that people can understand.
So I was listening to a lecture earlier today, okay, and the definition of reality is agreement, the level of agreement, right? So going back to what you had just stated, Sal, you got 10 different stations, and they all say cheap. What do they call it? Cheap.
They
fake?
were saying cheap fake when the term is really
Okay.
deep fake.
Okay, whatever it is. So they say cheap fake. ABC says it. CBS says it. CNN says. So the level of agreement, they're all agreeing to the same thing.
Yeah.
So that is now the reality. Reality is just agreement, and how real it is, how real the reality is the level of agreement. How many people agree? So really, like, it was really interesting how they had put it. Is they said if a guy walked into a room and said there's a black cat over there, and everybody else in the room said I don't see a black cat, okay, he's nuts. He needs to go to a mental institution, or he's crazy, or whatever his deal is, okay? But all it is an agreement. They all agree that they don't see the cat, so this guy's crazy, okay? So if you have enough people that agree with one thing, that is now the new reality. And I think that's how they're brainwashing everybody, is because they're all in cahoots with each other. Everything we hear, everything we see, you get a fact check on a social media account. Well, who the hell's running fact check? You know what I mean?
Exactly.
The people that are on the payroll for the government. So they're all on the same payroll. They're all going to agree, and they're all going to create a different reality. So we cannot think with our own freaking head. We're agreeing with these morons that are feeding us the bullshit.
Like you said, hypnotized.
That's exactly what it is.
That's why we have to keep sharing the truth.
I have friends saying that Trump's afraid to debate Kamala. And I said, that's not true. You don't watch his rallies. I do. He said it from day one he would. But because she came out in a rally and said he's afraid he won't do it, well, that's gospel. So now all the people on the left say, oh, he won't do it. He's afraid. It's just a lie.
No, he's not afraid. But I do think that he says, I want it on an impartial station. So I think that's part of it also, which is fair. I mean, you should, if it's going to be a debate, it should be in the town square, in an impartial, someplace.
I already know where this thing's going. I already know it's going to go that he demeaned her, and she's a woman, and she deserves more respect, and he's a bigot, and he's a chauvinistic pig, and because she's a woman and he's a man. I already know how.
Oh no, he's a rapist. Bullshit. Let's not forget that term. He's a rapist,
womanizer, rapist, all this bullshit.
But they all loved him before he got into politics. Oprah, who's a huge problem. You know, they all loved him.
Huge.
Oh, a woman giving advice on marriage when she's never been married, how to raise kids. She doesn't have any kids. She just makes me sick. I'm sorry. I don't agree with her. But they do. They listen to this rhetoric, and it becomes gospel. They believe it. And like I was telling Markus earlier today, that they're just coming out. The left doesn't know what to do anymore, so they're just coming out and blatantly lying. And then you got this Kimmel and this Colbert, who's just, they're poison. They're out there. I mean, you would have never seen Carson act like that.
Nope.
Carson made fun of both sides. But you got Kimmel, who's terrible, and Colbert, who's just as worse. And who's watching them? 20, 30-year-olds. And, you got the college kids getting their news from TikTok. I mean, what do you expect? They're getting brainwashed. Like you said, I think that's a great term because that's absolutely what's been happening, and it's continued to happen. And I hope it stops.
Yeah, we just got to keep out there sharing the truth, keep fighting the good fight. It's all we can do. So
hopefully people start watching stuff like this, podcasts, right? You don't have to agree with us.
Right.
Just think differently than everybody else.
That's
just
right.
think differently. Use your own head.
Exactly.
Think differently.
do your own investigating. Make your, all you got to do, it's out there. Go look for it.
Yeah,
Don't just
exactly.
rely on CNN to tell you the truth. Well, a lot of people get their news from Colbert, which is crazy.
It is absolutely insane. Well, Sal, thank you so much for joining us today. This has been a wonderful conversation.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah, you're wonderful, and thank you for all your support. I know you've watched a lot of our episodes, and you're sharing it out there, so I appreciate that very much.
I've shared it and sent some friends the link you sent me, and I think you guys are doing great work. I love it, and I'm a fan. And
you can give us any tips, Sal. Give us some tips. we got to figure this thing out. We got to get people to really, take in a lot of.
I will tell you what worked for me in the early '90s when I started one of the first online comedy radio stations, and I won awards, was invited to San Francisco and stuff. What I found really worked is when people would send me emails, like the fans, I always responded to them. Yeah. I always made everybody feel important, and it fired everybody up to communicate and to watch more. That's the one thing I remember. Now, that applied in the 90s. Does it apply now? I think if you go on TikTok or Facebook with a celebrity maybe you're following, and you post something, and that celebrity starts answering some of the people, aren't you more in tune to say, well, I'm going to get in there, see if they like my comment?
Absolutely.
So right. I think that's a little tidbit that worked for me.
Good. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, I love it.
But I had a great time. I like what you guys do. And anytime you want me back, just let me know. And I'll be more than happy to come and talk with you guys. I think this is great.
Let's do it, Sal. Definitely.
Absolutely.
You just let me know and I'll be here. I love it. I love this stuff. And I believe in what you guys do. And that's key. If I didn't believe in it, I wouldn't do it.
Well, thank you for joining us today.
Thank you, Don. Thank you, Markus.
It was a pleasure.
Thank you.
Well, there you go, folks. For this episode of Straight Up No Bullshit, if you liked what you heard here today, please like, share, and subscribe. That's our currency. That's how we get the message out. That's how we get the word out, and that's how you allow us to help make a difference in this world. So, until next time, we'll see you on Straight Up No Bullshit. Cheers.
Thank you for tuning in to the Straight Up No Bullshit, the Don Handston Show. We hope we enlightened you and expanded your perspectives with our bold and honest discussions about what might be holding you back from being your genuine self. And with a simple click to subscribe, we'll invite you back to the next episode. If you want to know more, go to straightupnobullshit.com. We'll see you next time.